we're going to be replacing the floor in this Trail Lite Camper. I've already removed the top of the bed. That was easy. That just came right up. You probably won't have any trouble doing that. Here's my bed frame. Pretty easy taking this up. I've already done it once and replaced it, and it's all new. So this is all brand new. I've already rebuilt my bed frame. But as you can see, pretty straightforward. Not much to it. What I'm going to be doing first is I'm going to be taking the bed back out. The next thing I'm going to do is the dinette. I've replaced this side over here already. This is all brand new wood on this side of the dinette. I'm getting ready to take out the water tank and the plumbing. That's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Anybody can do that. Then I'm going to take out this side piece here that the heating duct goes through. This side over here is a storage. I'm going to take this side of the dinette out. It's pretty simple, just unscrews from the floor. Pretty straightforward. And I'm going to take the linoleum up, and I'm going to replace the underneath flooring from this part right here where the stove begins, just this side of my fan, on the other side of the dinette bench there. You can see the tile right there. That's as far back as I'm going to go with the floor, because the rest of the floor in the back is good. But I'm going to replace all of the vinyl on the floor. I'm going to put new stick-on tiles. I don't need to take out the wardrobes. They're fine. Floor underneath them is good. The storage bin up front from the outside side doors, I don't need to replace the floor in it. It's good. So I'm replacing the floor right up to this point right here. You can see where the floor is damaged, and you can see on this side where the storage space is from the side doors, it's all in good shape. So I'm just going to be replacing the floor from that part forward. Okay, I've been at it about an hour and a half. As you can see, I got my dining room benches out. That was pretty simple. Just screwing everything, unscrewing everything. And this is what I'm faced with. I've got half the linoleum up, and it's bad. That white you see right there, that's the rubber membrane. The wood is rotten all the way through. This white right here is the insulation. This gray thing you see is probably a plastic PVC channel for wiring. The thing next to it, the white thing next to it, seems like maybe that's an aluminum cross member. So far, I don't see any other supports, so I'm going to have to do a whole support system. New supports. And that's all I'm going to do today. I got to be careful where I step now, because I'll go through the floor. I don't want to puncture the membrane on the bottom of the camper. But there it is, folks. I've got a mess ahead of me. Anybody interested in coming and doing this for me? Whew. Not looking forward to this. It's August. It's probably 100 degrees in here. And it's about 12:30. I'm headed to the house. I'm done for the day. And here's what I've discovered, which is going to make the floor pretty sturdy. Right here, I have a solid beam that runs the length of the trailer. On the other side, exactly the same place, right here, I have another one runs the length of the trailer. The trailer is a little bit less than 8 feet long or wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mill down some 2x4s the exact thickness from this beam to the bottom of my plywood floor, which I believe is 3/8. I'll verify that and let you know later. So this 2x4 will lay on this beam all the way and butt up against this plastic PVC, whatever it is, channel that the electric runs through. When you're cutting this floor out, be careful, don't cut through this into your electrical cable. So I'm going to lay a 2x4, one end butt here, all the way across this beam, across that metal beam, butted up against that metal beam over there. There's another metal beam over there. So across the floor to that beam. Then I'm going to lay another one, so there'll be 3 2x4s in a 4-foot wide section. And before I put my 2x4s down, what I'll do is do a tongue and groove type joint so that I can bring a 2x4 butted up against this plastic PVC for the water pipe. See the water pipe over there? It goes in that PVC. Make sure you don't cut it. So the 2x4 will butt up against this, and it'll come over to this side over here where the other 2x4 goes along, and it'll interlock in that with a joint. There'll be a 2x4 down the middle. It'll also be key jointed. So I'll do 3 2x4s across this way, 3 up and down this way, and that'll give me a grid of 2x4s to lay my floor on. Inside the 2x4s, I'll cut foam the exact size of the grid, put it in the grid as my insulation. So that's the plan. Now, this morning I used my Dremel. You can see it right there. Absolutely, positively, in my opinion, required for this job. Here's the reason. Pretty high speed. I don't know if you can see that bit. That bit right there is a carbide bit. It's about 1 inch long. That's pretty important because you don't want to go all the way through your plywood floor, through your foam, and you don't want to cut your membrane. You want to keep that membrane intact as much as you can. It'll be a pain and probably expensive to replace it. So I've got lots of these carbide bits, got my Dremel, and it does a real nice job. It helps that the plywood is pretty much shot, but I just cut right down a section. You can see on the wall over there, I was able to cut right up against the wall, flush with the wall, and flush with that aluminum cross member over there. Did a nice job. Same thing over here underneath my little pony wall. I cut right along the edge. You can see it here too. I'm going to leave that foam in there. A couple things to remember. Don't cut into your plastic channel. One's got water hose in it. This one over here has electric in it. So be careful around that. Also, what I'm going to have to do here is in this section right here, I'm going to have to use some probably 4x6 or 2x6s because my step is bolted to that. So I'll have to have a real stability, you know, a nice solid platform right here so that my step underneath can bolt into it. You can see the hole right there. There's a bolt that comes up through there, holds the step, and there'll have to be some nice wood here to hold that. Same on the other side. That's what holds the step up. So you got to make arrangements for that. So what am I going to do the rest of today? I'm going to take the rest of this floor out, and what I'm going to do, my plan is I'm going to do this center section first. I'm going to build my 2x4 frame and then I'm going to lay my treated plywood on that after I put my foam in. And I'm going to get this whole section right here in the middle done completely. That way I'll have a platform right from the door to work. Then I can do this side over here, and then when that's done I can come over here and do the side where the bed is. And that's the plan. So far it seems pretty straightforward. There's a way to build a good solid platform without adding a whole lot of weight. As I see it, the only thing is it's just going to be hot, sweaty grunt work. And you know, what are you going to do? It is what it is. I kind of wanted to give you an overview and a look at how this Dremel works. When you're cutting this line, it's kind of good to lay your Dremel down at about a 45-degree angle. Notice on the initial two cuts, I've got the tool laid over at an angle, and you don't want to try to cut all the way through at one time. You sneak up on it is easier. This part of the floor is not damaged, so it's kind of being difficult. Anyway, you can get the gist of what I'm doing. I use my Dremel to cut along the edges, take out one section at a time, manageable. This is the underlayment. This is the old felt paper, which is what I duplicated. This is the Luann. You can obviously see this is damp, so it's gotten wet somehow. So I have to take all this out of here, but you don't need to see all this. It's all just grunt, cut, grunt, cut, grunt. Dirty, nasty, dusty work. You get the gist? Okay, here is during construction, almost finished, my floor sandwich that I'm putting in. As you can see, I've made a grid of 2x4s, and I had to mill the 2x4. I had to mill these 2x4s right here in this grid down to 1.25 inches thick. And the reason is this foam insulation, you can see this piece is 3/4 and the one underneath it is half. So that's 1.25 inches. The reason that I came upon that size is because that's the size my old floor was. I wanted the same thickness as my old floor. These are lap joints right here. All these are lap joints. I've constructed the 2x4 frame. The bottom of it is Luan. And you can see right there, pretty thin. I think it's about 3/16. The top piece that's going to go on the top, my floor sheeting, is going to be 3/8. This is number 15 felt tar paper right here. You see in my hand. I put that on the bottom after I put my Luan, stapled and glued with liquid nails construction cement. This Luan right here, bottom layment, is stapled and glued. The staples I used are Porter cable, number 18 1-inch brads. So the underlayment is stapled and glued to my 2x4 frames. Then I cut out my panels, my insulation panels. I cut them out, you can see, to match, and they go inside there. Then when this is all done, I'm fixing to do this right here to lay these in. Once I get that done, I'll cover another layer of felt roof paper and I'll put it in the camper. Getting this in the door, this cutout here you see is for the pony wall where the curtain is, and this cutout over here you see is the corner of the sink. I had to cut those out and I had to match them up to get them. So what I'm going to do, this is my hardest piece. Everything else after this is just going to be 2-foot wide panels. So it'll be 2 foot with that, and I can just pick them up, take them in there, and lay them across the beams. Be much easier. This one here was the tough one because I had to engineer it as I went. It's been a bear. But I've about got it, and I'm going to install it this afternoon. Then I'm going to use sheet metal screws, and I'm going to screw these beams right here, these cross beams you see right here. There's 3 there, 3 there. They'll be screwed to the metal frame of the camper. So that's how this floor will be attached to the camper. The only place there's any support on my floor is right in this area right here. There's a metal beam that runs the length of the camper, and then down here, about right here, there's a metal beam that runs the length of the camper. This whole section in here is free floating. I'm hoping that with this construction, the lap joints, the underlayment, the tight fitting foam, the felt paper, and then the deck, I'm hoping that'll give me a good solid floor here in the middle without any sag. We'll see. Okay, this is the section that's going to go in. You can see my membrane right here. You can see right here is the metal frame, and you can see how far it is from the door jamb. On the other side, it's the same distance. There's a metal, and it runs the full length of the camper. This is to slide the panel in can see this is the sink right here. That's that one cutout. It's got a lid in there, and to get it in I had to cut it out to get past, to slide down past this pony wall is what I call it. Once I get this piece inserted and finished, it'll get screwed to this metal beam on here and here. Then I'll put another coat of felt paper on it. Then I'll put on the plywood deck. Hopefully that'll be nice and sturdy, and from the center here I'll be able to work either way, into this floor section and then into this floor section over here. This job is not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you. It has been a bear. Oh well, it is what it is. Had to be done. I couldn't afford to pay $2,000 to get a floor put in. So here we are. Okay, you can see that I've got this section of the floor removed. That took me about 2 hours because the floor was not rotten. It's still good and dry for the most part, so it took longer to cut it out. But I got it out. You can see the white foam insulation. It's part of the floor sandwich from the trailer company. I've got a nice straight line cut over there. This is up to my cabinets. That right there is my electrical panel, that black thing in the upper right hand corner. Of course, these are the cupboard doors for my sink. And this this metal frame right here runs all the way across. It's part of the aluminum construction for the suspension and the wheel wells, which are right here. These are the wheel wells. There's one on this side. You can see there. And there's one under the sink over here. So this is where the rubber meets the road, because I have a slight engineering problem and I'm not an engineer. This right here is the metal steel trailer frame. It runs the full length. Remember, we talked about this in an earlier video. There's also one on the other side, which is up about right here. Runs this way, the full length. So you can see the problem. To get to that metal beam, I'd have to tear out the sink. And I don't want to do that. That's a real job. So I have this aluminum beam right here that can support this edge of the floor. You can see that. This over here is nice, hard, solid wood. This is a solid, and this floor is good and sturdy. And I have my beam, of course, back here. So if I build my floor sandwich frame using my same construction methods, put a 2x4 this here and a 2x4 here in the middle, and then one over here on this edge with the floor supported on this beam here, like this part of it is. Then my floor is supported on this end really well here, and it's supported along here, and there's some fairly good support available over here if I can figure out how to do it. But I've got nothing, no support here. If I put my 2x4 and just lay it here, it's going to lay on nothing. That rubber membrane won't hold it, and it'll punch a hole in it. And as soon as you step on it, that whole section will go right through membrane and you're down on the road. What supports this end of the floor? So that's what I got to figure out. Okay, here's the big reveal. What I did was I came in here and I cut out just enough for my 2x4 to lay in there. Fortunately, it was this side of my plumbing. Right here is my beam, my steel beam. So I've got that cut. Now the 2x4 will lay between beams. Over here, I'm in the process of cutting this one. And so that'll get cut out, and then we'll be in Fat City. Well, I'll tell you, this has been a real pain. Been at this now for about 14 days. I've got my floor down. Got it screwed to my floor panel that I made. You can see I got it screwed down, and what I've done is I've puttied over the screw heads and all of the low spots, and then I sanded it. I didn't want any of those screw heads or any low spots telegraphing through my tiles. So I've sanded all that down. So each one of those splotches you see is screws. Got it all the way. Got my floor down. You can see I'm starting to put my tiles down. This is the section up here I didn't have to replace. It's all good. So here in another day or so I'll have all the tiles done. Once I got this floor sanded and smoothed the way I wanted it, I used Henry's 336 bond enhancer. I rolled that over the whole floor, let that dry for about 90 minutes, and I'm ready to put on tile. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm putting stick-on tiles. It seems to be going pretty good. Well, here we are on October the 8th, and my camper floor is finally complete. Now, I started it the last day in August, so you figure out the number of days. Now, I didn't work every day. I probably took 4 or 5 days off during that time, but I usually worked about 5 or 6 hours a day on this floor, and it was a nightmare. It was the most frustrating job I've ever undertaken. It seemed like the camper was fighting me tooth and nail every step of the way. If something could go wrong, it did go wrong. But I persevered. I took some breaks for sanity's sake, and I ended up with a really, really great floor in my camper. It is nice and steady and strong. There's no more spongy spots in it. I know that there's no rotten wood in it. It's got a nice solid floor. So I'm happy now that it's done. A couple things that I didn't mention during my videos when I was making it and doing the camper. One of them was, when you have the floor off and your your rubber membrane is exposed, make sure that you use heavy-duty Gorilla duct tape to tape any holes or cracks or anything in your membrane, top and bottom. If I found a hole in it, I taped it on the top of it, inside the camper, and I taped it on the bottom, outside the camper. So I am very confident that the rubber membrane on the bottom of my camper is intact and will not leak. Also, because I used 15 felt paper, I have a double barrier against water. I've got the rubber membrane and then I have the felt paper. So I'm real confident I have a great floor. Just remember, if you undertake this, you better know what you're doing. Also, you might want to make sure you have the tools you need. The tools that I used, other than the basic hand tools that you would think you would need, are I used my joiner, I used my thickness planer, I used my table saw, I used my band saw, I used a hand circular saw, hand saws, hammers, screwdrivers. I used electric drills, electric screwdrivers, of course my Dremel. I used a hair dryer, various rulers, carpenter square. These are the normal tools that you would use, woodworking. So if you're going to undertake this project, make sure you have the tools and you know how to use them. Now that the project is complete, I'm happy that I got a good floor in my camper. Boy, was it a job. Probably if I'd have known what it was going to take when I started, I might not have done it. I might have just said the heck with it and sold it as is. But it's done. I'm happy. And let me show you the floor. Okay, here's the floor. There's my back bunk. I rebuilt that whole bottom bunk back there. The top bunk is okay, but the bottom that you see there, the clapboard, I rebuilt all that. Put all new trim down. That's under my dinette. Of course, everything under the dinette is all new. You saw it was all ripped out. The bed is new. Of course, now the floor is new. Everything is nice and new. So, there it is. Completed floor. Ready to go camping. Thanks for watching.